Chosen one, did you feel it today? That quiet moment when you chose to stay silent instead of saying what you really wanted to say? Did you catch yourself whispering a prayer so broken, so shaky, you weren't even sure God heard it? Or maybe you forgave someone who will never know, never apologize, never even care, and you did it anyway, alone, in the hidden corners of your heart where no one else lives. Chosen one. What you did today, that moment you think didn't matter, that quiet surrender nobody witnessed, that small obedience you almost dismissed as nothing, heaven saw it, and God laughed out loud. Not at you, for you, over you. That laugh wasn't mockery, it was triumph. It was the sound of victory crashing through the enemy's plans. Because while you saw weakness, heaven saw warfare. While you felt invisible, angels stood at attention. Maybe today you took your pills on time even though your body aches and you're tired of the routine. Maybe you called your grandchild even though they didn't pick up, but you left a voicemail full of love anyway. Maybe you swallowed your anger during that conversation, chose peace when you had every right to explode, and you think it didn't count. But listen to me closely. That tiny yes shifted something massive in the unseen realm. That seed you planted in silence, it just cracked open a mountain. You have been walking through a season where you felt small, where your obedience felt unseen, where your faith felt unnoticed. But the enemy has been terrified, because what you call a whisper, heaven calls thunder. Before we go any further, I want to honor something sacred. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling, who are walking through their own hidden battles. Whether you give or not, I am deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message is already resonating with your soul, if something in your spirit is stirring, go ahead and type Amen in the comments. Let your faith become a lifeline for someone else scrolling right now, wondering if God still sees them. Chosen one, what you did today made God laugh. And when God laughs, everything changes. Do you know what happened the moment you made that choice today? When you whispered that broken prayer, when you bit your tongue instead of unleashing the hurt you've been carrying, when you chose obedience in a moment nobody else saw. Do you have any idea what shifted in the heavenly realm? Can you even begin to comprehend the earthquake your small yes just triggered in eternity? Let me tell you something that will change how you see every quiet act of faith for the rest of your life. What you did today was not ordinary. In God's economy, your small obedience tripped a divine lever. Heaven's laughter is the sound of your battle already decided. You see, we live in a world that measures success by what can be seen, counted, applauded. The promotion, the recognition, the numbers in the bank account. But God operates on a completely different system. His economy runs on faith, on hidden obedience, on the prayers whispered in the dark when nobody's watching. And today, when you made that choice, when you took that step, when you obeyed in secret, heaven erupted. Not because you're perfect, not because you finally got it all together, but because you said yes when everything in you wanted to say no. That's the sound God was waiting for. Listen to what the prophet Habakkuk understood. He wrote these words thousands of years ago, but they're for you right now, today, this very moment. For the vision awaits its appointed time. It will surely come. It will not delay. Did you catch that? Your appointed time, not somebody else's timeline, not the world's schedule, not even what you thought should have happened by now. Your appointed time. And here's what most people miss. The vision isn't delayed because God forgot about you. It's been waiting because you had to become the person who could carry it. Every season of silence, every moment of hidden obedience, every time you chose faith when fear screamed louder, all of it was building you into the vessel strong enough to hold what's coming. You've been asking God, when? And today, with that small act of obedience, heaven answered, now. The laughter you triggered wasn't casual. It was the sound of a courtroom verdict. It was the gavel of heaven declaring that the enemy's case against you has been dismissed. It was God Almighty looking at the accuser and saying, watch what I'm about to do with this one, because here's what the enemy didn't count on: your resilience, your refusal to quit, your willingness to keep showing up even when you felt invisible. He thought silence meant absence. He thought delay meant denial. He thought your limp meant you were defeated. But you kept moving. And today, that movement, small as it seemed to you, registered as thunder in the spiritual realm. Before we're done here, I'm going to show you 3 unmistakable signs that heaven has already shifted your house. 3 markers that the supernatural is already in motion. Watch for them, because once you see them, you'll never doubt your obedience again. But first, you need to understand why this moment matters more than any other moment you've lived through. You're not in a waiting room anymore, chosen one. You're standing in the doorway. And what you did today, that was you reaching for the handle. The door is about to swing open. Pain scan, where seniors actually bleed. You know what nobody talks about? The silence. Not the kind of silence that comes when the TV shuts off or when the phone stops ringing. I'm talking about the silence that screams. The silence at the dinner table where there used to be laughter. The silence on your birthday when the chair across from you stays empty and you set the table anyway, out of habit, out of hope, out of some stubborn refusal to admit they're really gone. You smile at the cashier. You wave at the neighbor. You say, I'm fine, when someone asks. But inside, you're drowning in a noise nobody else can hear. The world keeps spinning. People keep rushing. Your phone buzzes with news you didn't ask for, updates you don't care about, and yet, the one call you're waiting for, the one voice you ache to hear, silence. You're surrounded by people, but you've never felt more alone. And here's what makes it worse. Your body is slowing down, but your mind is sharp as ever. You remember everything. Every birthday party, every Sunday dinner, every promise that was made and never kept. You remember when your children needed you, when they ran to you, clung to you, called you first. Now, you're lucky if they call you back. The medications pile up on the counter, $23 here, $47 there. You do the math in your head because you've been doing math your whole life, and the numbers don't lie. Social Security doesn't stretch like it used to. The bills keep coming, the body keeps aching, the grocery prices keep climbing. And you wonder, God, do you see this? Do you see me rationing my pills because I can't afford the refill until next month? Fixed income, rising costs, a slow body, a fast memory, and nobody talks about how hard that is. Then there's the family, the ones you raised, the ones you sacrificed for, the ones you prayed over, stayed up for, gave everything to. Now there's tension over the will, silence over old wounds, distance that feels like death, even though everyone's still breathing. You want to apologize for things you're not even sure you did wrong, but pride, time, and fear keep your mouth shut. And the apologies you're owed, they're never coming. You know it. I know it. God knows it. But you keep the door unlocked anyway, just in case. Then there's church. You've been faithful. You've tithed when you didn't have it. You've prayed when your knees screamed. You've believed when everything in you wanted to quit. But the promises feel delayed. The prayers feel unanswered. And you start to wonder, did I miss it? Did God forget? Am I too old for miracles now? Let me stop you right there. Listen to me, chosen one. Survival is victory. You hear me? Survival is victory. Psalm 126, verses 5 and 6 say it like this: "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. He who goes out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with him." You've been sowing in tears for years, watering the ground with prayers nobody saw, planting seeds in silence, in pain, in the dark, and you thought nothing was growing. But heaven has been recording every single tear, every lonely night, every aching joint, every unanswered phone call, every sacrifice nobody noticed. God has seen it all. And what you call survival, heaven calls it warfare. What you call just getting by, heaven calls it faithfulness under fire. The enemy wanted you to quit. He wanted you to believe the lie that you don't matter anymore, that your season is over, that your best days are behind you. But the fact that you're still here, still praying, still believing, still choosing peace when you have every right to be bitter, that's proof the enemy lost. And now the harvest is coming. But before we go there, I need you to understand something that's about to shift everything. Because what happened today, that small thing you did, it wasn't small at all. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you will shift everything you thought you knew about the sound of heaven. When God laughs over your life, it is not the chuckle of amusement. It is the sound of a gavel falling in the Supreme Court of eternity. It is the decree of a judge who has already reviewed all the evidence, heard every accusation the enemy brought against you, and rendered his final verdict. Not guilty, case dismissed, victory sealed. That laughter, it's not casual. It's cosmic authority crashing through the lies that tried to bury you. You need to understand something. The enemy thought he had you trapped. He thought your silence meant surrender. He thought your hidden obedience was invisibility. But heaven saw it differently. What looked like weakness to the world was warfare in the spirit. What felt like you were being buried was actually you being planted. Let me show you what I mean. Think about Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, accused of a crime he didn't commit, locked in a prison for years with no trial, no lawyer, no hope of appeal. He had every reason to believe God had forgotten his name. But Genesis 50:20 tells us the truth. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. What the enemy designed as a grave, God was using as a womb. Every betrayal was a seed. Every chain was preparation. Every year in that prison was God positioning Joseph for a palace the enemy never saw coming. And when Pharaoh's dream needed interpretation, when the entire nation was facing famine, when the moment of divine timing arrived, heaven laughed. Not because Joseph suffered, but because the enemy's plan to destroy him became the very soil where his destiny grew. You see, chosen one, God doesn't waste your pain. He redeems it. He recycles it. It turns your pit into your pulpit. Romans 8:28 doesn't say some things work together for good. It says all things, even the things that broke you, even the betrayals you can't talk about, even the losses that still make you cry at 3 a.m. All of it, every single ounce of it. God is weaving it into a testimony so powerful it will silence every lie the enemy ever whispered over your life. But here's what you need to catch. Timing matters. Jesus knew this. In Mark 5:43, after raising a little girl from the dead, he told the parents, "Tell no one." Why? Because evidence comes before announcement. Fruit comes before fanfare. God doesn't need your story to go viral before it's ripe. He needs it to be rooted first. You've been hidden for a reason. You've been silent for a season. Not because you were forgotten, but because God was protecting the miracle before it was ready to be revealed. And now, as heaven laughs, the season is shifting. The gavel has fallen, the verdict is in, the evidence of your faithfulness has been presented before the throne, and the Father is standing to his feet in applause. Can you hear it? That sound breaking over your life like sunrise, spilling over the East River, flooding every dark corner with light. That's not just joy. That's divine declaration. The enemy's case against you, thrown out. The accusations, silenced. The delays, over. Heaven is laughing because the victory was never in question. So right now, if you need heaven's laughter to break over your house, over your body, over your finances, over your family, whisper this with me. Lord, laugh over me. Say it again. Lord, laugh over me. Because when God laughs, walls fall, chains break, tombs open, and what the enemy buried, it rises. But here's the question that will determine everything moving forward. Will you believe the laughter, or will you keep listening to the lies? You want to know why heaven erupted in laughter over what you did today? Let me tell you something that might shatter everything you thought you knew about spiritual warfare. While you were standing in your kitchen this morning, biting your tongue when that comment cut deep, when every nerve in your body screamed to fire back, to defend yourself, to finally say what you've been holding in for months, you chose silence. And in that split second, chosen one, you didn't just avoid an argument, you broke a generational curse. Luke chapter 2, verse 19 tells us that Mary, the mother of Jesus, when faced with things she couldn't understand, things that confused her, things that hurt, she treasured these things and pondered them in her heart. She didn't react, she didn't defend, she didn't explain herself to people who would never understand anyway. She held the mystery close and let God be God. That's exactly what you did today. But here's what you didn't see. While you were choosing silence, heaven was choosing victory. Because that person who wronged you, the enemy was counting on your explosion. He had 10 more dominoes lined up behind that one conversation. Your anger was supposed to trigger their anger, which would trigger someone else's pain, which would shatter a family gathering next month, which would wound a grandchild who's already struggling with whether God is real. But you swallowed the spike, and the whole chain collapsed. Heaven doesn't count like earth does, beloved. Your whisper was a shout up there. Now let me take you deeper. Maybe today you did something even harder than staying silent. You forgave someone who will never apologize. Not out loud, not in some grand theatrical moment, but in the privacy of your own heart, you released them. You know what that cost you? Everything. Because forgiveness without an apology is the highest form of spiritual warfare that exists. It's you saying, I will not carry what you refuse to own. It's you choosing freedom over being right. And chosen one, when you made that choice, when you whispered in the hidden place of your heart, I forgive them, Lord, do you know what happened? Chains broke in the heavenly realm that have been wrapped around your family for 40 years. That bitterness you released, it wasn't just about you. It was about your children watching how you handle pain. It was about your grandchildren learning that grace is stronger than grudges. You planted a seed today that will bear fruit 3 generations from now in people whose names you'll never know. That's not tiny. That's seed. And seed shouts louder than speeches. But maybe your act today looked even smaller than that. Maybe you just showed up. You showed up to physical therapy even though your body aches. You showed up to prayer even though heaven feels silent. You showed up to that phone call even though you're exhausted. You showed up to life even though part of you wanted to quit. Beloved, do you have any idea how many people didn't show up today? How many gave up? How many said, what's the point? But not you. You put one foot in front of the other. You took your medication. You said your prayers. You kept breathing. And heaven counted every single step as victory. Because showing up when you don't feel like it, that's not weakness. That's warfare. The enemy wanted you to stay in bed. He wanted you to skip the call. He wanted you to give up on prayer, but you didn't. And that small act of defiance against despair, it registered in eternity like thunder. So when God laughed today, he wasn't laughing at the size of your obedience. He was laughing at the size of the enemy's failure, because what looked like a whisper down here sounded like a war cry up there. But here's what I need you to understand. Chosen one, before we go any further, if these small acts carry this much weight in heaven, what else have you been dismissing as meaningless? What other whispers have been shouts? Sacred silence. Guard what's growing. Chosen one, listen closely. What happened today, that shift in the unseen, that victory heaven just declared over your life, it is fragile right now, not because God's promise is weak, but because the ground where miracles grow is always under attack. And I need you to understand something that will save you from sabotaging your own breakthrough. Not everyone deserves to know what God is doing in you right now. I know that sounds harsh. I know you want to share it. You want to call your sister, text your friend, post about it, tell someone, anyone, that something finally moved in your spirit today. But here's the truth they don't teach you in Sunday school. The enemy uses your mouth to abort what God planted in your silence. When you announce the seed before it's rooted, you expose it to elements it's not ready for. Doubt, mockery, jealousy, confusion. Even well-meaning people will accidentally trample what's growing in you, not because they're evil, but because they can't see what heaven is building. Jesus himself knew this. After healing the blind man in Mark 7:36, he gave a strange command: tell no one. Why? Because premature exposure kills holy momentum. The moment you over-explain what God whispered to you in secret, you hand the enemy a weapon. He will use the voices of others, questions, opinions, advice, to make you second-guess the very thing heaven just confirmed. Chosen one, do you remember the last time you felt God moving? Do you remember how excited you were? And do you remember what happened when you told the wrong person? How their reaction made you feel? Foolish? Small? Like maybe you imagined it? That wasn't coincidence. That was spiritual sabotage disguised as conversation. Daniel sealed his visions. Mary pondered things in her heart. Jesus retreated to pray alone in secret, where the Father could meet him without interference. There is a reason Scripture says, when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father in secret. Matthew 6:6. Because the secret place is where miracles incubate. Now let me give you something practical. Draw 2 circles in your mind. The inner circle, that's the process. That's where God is working. That's where the seed is splitting open underground, where roots are forming, where heaven is rewiring your life in ways no one can see yet. Guard that circle with your life. Tell no one. Explain nothing. Let God finish what he started without human commentary. The outer circle, that's the testimony. That's where you share the fruit, not the seed. That's where you tell the story after the harvest, not during the planting. Don't reverse the order. Don't announce what's growing before it's strong enough to withstand scrutiny. Here's what I want you to do this week. Keep a private journal. Write down what you're sensing, what you're feeling, what God is stirring. But don't post it. Don't explain it. Don't defend it. Just let it grow. Reduce your talking. Increase your resting. Stop trying to make people understand what only heaven knows. And here's your assignment. Write down one thing. Just one thing you will not talk about this week. Something God showed you. Something shifting in your spirit. Something you feel coming. Write it down. And then guard it. Like a seed in a greenhouse. Warm, hidden, protected. Because chosen one, what's growing in you right now is too valuable to risk. The enemy knows that if this thing takes root, it will produce fruit for generations. So he's waiting for you to overshare, to dilute it with explanation, to to seek validation from people who can't bless what they don't understand. Don't give him that opening. Stay in the secret place. Let heaven finish the work. And when the time comes, when the fruit is ripe, when the harvest is ready, then you'll have a testimony so undeniable, even your doubters will have to give God the glory. But not yet. Not today. Today, you guard what's growing, because what you did today just made God laugh in victory, and that victory is still unfolding. So here's my question for you. Can you trust God enough to stay silent while he works? Chosen one, I need you to stop right here and pay attention, because what I'm about to show you is not theory. This is not feel-good religious talk. This is the evidence that heaven has already moved on your behalf, and you almost missed it. You've been asking God for a sign. You've been praying for confirmation. You've been wondering if anything you did today even mattered. But here's the truth. The shift already happened, and heaven left you 3 unmistakable marks to prove it. Sign number 1. Strange peace in a familiar storm. There's something that used to wreck you, something that would spike your blood pressure, keep you up at night, make your hands shake with anger or fear. Maybe it was a phone call from that family member. Maybe it was opening the mailbox and seeing another bill you can't pay. Maybe it was the same argument with your spouse that's been recycling for 30 years. But today something was different. You felt calm, not because the problem disappeared, not because you suddenly had all the answers, but because something inside you refused to panic. Philippians 4:7 calls it the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. That peace doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It guards your heart and mind even when the storm is still raging. And chosen one, if you felt that today, even for 5 minutes, that wasn't you being numb, that was heaven, confirming that the atmosphere around your life just shifted. The thing that used to control you, it doesn't have permission anymore. Sign number 2. Small provision shows up by accident. Now here's where it gets interesting. You needed something. Maybe you didn't even pray about it out loud. Maybe you just thought about it in passing. And then out of nowhere it showed up. A discount at the pharmacy. An unexpected call from an old friend offering help. A neighbor who gave you a ride to the doctor without you even asking. You might have called it luck. You might have called it coincidence. But 1 Kings 18:44 says it differently. Elijah's servant looked toward the sea and saw a cloud as small as a man's hand. It didn't look like much, but Elijah knew that tiny cloud was the sign that the drought was over. The downpour was coming. Chosen one, that small provision today, that wasn't random. That was token rain. That was heaven's way of saying, brace yourself. The floodgates are about to open. Don't dismiss the small because you're waiting for the big. God is showing you that the pipeline is active. The supply line is open. And what looked like a trickle is about to become a torrent. Sign number 3. Resistance flared up because your timeline just moved. Now here's the one that trips people up. Right after you felt that peace, right after that small provision showed up, something irritating happened. An argument out of nowhere. A bill you forgot about. A phone call that threw you off balance. And you thought, see, nothing's changed. I knew it was too good to be true. But chosen one, listen carefully. That's not proof that nothing shifted. That's proof that everything did. The enemy doesn't waste energy on people who aren't moving. He doesn't throw last-minute tantrums unless timelines just changed in your favor. That resistance, that's confirmation. It means the enemy saw what heaven just released over your life and he's panicking. Don't misread the pushback. It's not a sign you're losing. It's a sign you're winning. So let me ask you directly. Have you seen even one of these signs today? If you have, if any part of this landed in your spirit, I need you to do something right now. Type in the comments, I've seen a sign. Because when you declare it, you're not just testifying for yourself, you're activating faith for someone else who's reading this and wondering if God still sees them. Chosen one, heaven has already moved. The question is, are you ready to move with it? Climax 1. The aha of reversal. Chosen one, I need you to stop for a moment and look at something you've been missing. The very thing that tried to destroy you, that betrayal, that loss, that dark season when you felt buried alive. That wasn't your grave. That was your planting. Listen to what Joseph said after his brothers sold him into slavery, after 13 years of dungeons and false accusations, after everything that should have destroyed him. Genesis 50:20. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. You meant evil. God meant it for good. Two intentions. Same event. One tried to bury you. The other was planting you. And here's what you need to understand right now. The dirt they threw on you, that became your soil. The tears you cried in secret, that became the rain. And what you did today, that small, trembling yes, that was the first crack in the seed. Do you hear what I'm saying? You are not dead. You are germinating. The tomb they sealed you in, it was always a womb. And God has been laughing not because your pain was a joke, but because he saw the harvest while the enemy only saw the grave. Now I want you to think about something that might shake you. Every attack you survived, every betrayal, every rejection, every moment you felt abandoned. What if none of it was wasted? What if every single tear you cried was collected in heaven's bottle? What if every night you couldn't sleep, God was rewiring something in the unseen? What if the delay wasn't denial, it was development? What if God wasn't punishing you, he was positioning you? Think about it. Joseph didn't understand why he was in prison, but the prison was the doorway to the palace. David didn't understand why he was hiding in caves, but the caves were where he learned to worship in the dark, and that's what made him a king who could lead in the light. The Israelites didn't understand why they were trapped at the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind them, but that impossible moment, that was the stage for the greatest miracle of their generation. God doesn't just deliver you from the trap, he uses the trap to display his power. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer this honestly in your spirit. What if the thing that almost killed you was actually the thing that qualified you? What if your pain wasn't pointless, it was preparation? What if your scars aren't shame, they're credentials? Because here's what the enemy didn't count on. When you choose obedience in the dirt, when you choose forgiveness in the dark, when you choose faith, when everything in you wants to quit, you're not just surviving, you're planting eternity. That small yes you whispered today, heaven heard it as thunder. The enemy thought today was just another ordinary day, but you disrupted his plan. You planted a seed he can't uproot. And now, right now, the soil is shifting. The thing that buried you is about to bloom. And when it does, everyone who counted you out is going to see that what they meant for evil, God has turned into a garden. Chosen one, do you feel that? That stirring in your spirit? That's not anxiety. That's anticipation. Something is breaking open in the unseen. The laugh of God isn't just a sound, it's a declaration. It's heaven's announcement that the reversal has begun, and everything the enemy stole, it's about to be returned with interest. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you trust the process even when you can't see the progress? Will you keep saying yes even when it looks like nothing is happening? Because chosen one, what you do in the waiting determines what you receive in the harvest. And your harvest, it's closer than you think. Conclusion. Chosen one, we've walked a long road together today. And before you go, I need you to hold on to something precious, something that cannot be shaken, no matter what tomorrow brings. Remember this, what you did today mattered. That small yes, the one you almost dismissed, it shifted something massive in the heavens. The dirt that tried to bury you has become your soil. The pain that tried to break you has become your preparation. And the God who saw you in your darkest hour is the same God who is laughing over you right now in victory. Not because your struggle was small, but because your breakthrough is certain. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not too late, too broken, or too far gone. You are seen, you are loved, and you are right on time, in God's perfect plan. I know there are moments when you feel alone, when the weight of your journey feels too heavy to carry by yourself. But I want you to hear this truth deep in your spirit. You are not alone. God is still working in your life even when you can't see it, even when you can't feel it. He is moving in the unseen, aligning things in your favor, preparing doors you haven't even prayed for yet. And there is a community here, right here in this space, that is praying with you, believing with you, standing in faith alongside you. You are part of something bigger than yourself. Your story matters. Your obedience matters. And the seed you planted today is going to produce a harvest that will bless generations you may never meet. So let me ask you one final question before we close. What if the very thing you're walking through right now is the doorway to everything you've been praying for? What if this season, the one that feels so hard, is actually the threshold of your greatest breakthrough? Will you trust Him? Will you keep saying yes even when it's small, even when it's shaky, even when no one else sees it? Because, chosen one, heaven is watching, and your faithfulness is about to be rewarded. Now, before you go, I want to pray over you. If you're in a place where you can close your eyes and receive this, I invite you to do that now. If not, just listen with your heart. Let these words wash over you like healing oil. Father God, I come before you right now on behalf of every precious soul who has made it to this moment. Lord, you see them. You see the tears they've cried when no one was watching. You see the battles they've fought in silence. You see the weight they've been carrying, the questions they've been asking, the hope they've been holding on to by a thread. And God, I ask you right now, in the name of Jesus, to meet them exactly where they are. Touch the broken places, heal the hidden wounds, speak peace into the chaos, and breathe life into every dry bone, every dead dream, every area that feels too far gone. Lord, open doors that no man can shut, clear paths that seem impossible, release favor, provision, and divine connections into their lives. Let them feel your presence right now, not as a distant concept, but as a tangible reality that wraps around them like a warm blanket on a cold night. Remind them, God, that what they did today was not small, that their obedience has moved heaven, that their faithfulness has planted seeds the enemy cannot uproot. And Father, I pray for breakthrough not someday, but soon. Let the harvest come swiftly. Let the tears turn to joy. Let the waiting turn to manifestation. We thank you that you are not done with their story, that you are still writing, still working, still laughing over them in victory. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Chosen one, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for trusting this message enough to let it into your heart. Your time is valuable, and the fact that you spent it here listening, receiving, believing it means more than you know. Now, I want to ask you to do something important. If this message touched your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear that their small yes matters. Pass it along to someone who feels buried and needs to know they're actually being planted. Drop a comment below. Tell me what God spoke to you today. Let your testimony encourage someone else who's scrolling through, wondering if God still sees them. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next word God has for you. Because this community, we're in this together. We're believing together. We're walking in faith together. And when one of us wins, we all win. So stay connected. Keep showing up. Keep saying yes, because chosen one, your breakthrough is closer than you think. And when God laughs over your life, everything changes. Go in peace, go in power, and go knowing that heaven is cheering you on. I'll see you in the next message. Until then, be blessed.